He's a plans to shut it down. So the contract was pushed.
How loud can
What is?
like just normal?
We have a quorum, gentlemen. I'm going to call the meeting to order. And staff have the agenda, so I'm sure. Do we have any public comment for this meeting?
We don't have any members of public who decide to comment.
Everyone's been sent the minutes, so I will ask for a motion to approve them, the consent agenda now. Motion to approve. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion? It's late, I guess, but if anybody wants an item removed from the consent agenda. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? It's carried. So we go on to our regular agenda. No items were removed. So items for information or discussion. I said it would be quick.
Oh, you're already to me? Okay, super.
Would you like to introduce yourself in case any of the commissioners aren't familiar with who you are and your role?
Happy to do that. So I'm Mercy Davison. I've been with the town for 22 years. I'm the town planner. I started as one of the town attorneys at first. So I was one of the attorneys for 3 years. I'd like to clarify, I was not the attorney, I was an attorney. I was the third on the totem pole. So I know there are people online too. Does it matter which way I'm facing?
No, you can switch.
Okay, I'm just
if you like.
gonna gaze around. Okay, excellent. Cool. Okay, I will scroll. Let's see here. Oh, look, there I am. Oh, I don't want to do that. Can I just like arrow, do you think? Perfect. There you go. So at the town of Normal, we have a small but mighty planning staff. We are actually housed in the same department as inspections. There are 3 of us though that are actually in the planning area. That's me, Tessa Ferraro, who's the associate planner, and Jennifer Toney, who is our community development specialist. So Jennifer is in charge of the funding we get from the Housing and Urban Development department at the federal government. So every year the town, like most municipalities of any size, we get a certain amount of money from HUD. We have to spend that money on low and moderate income families or certain types of activities that benefit those groups. So whether it's housing initiatives, neighborhood improvements in areas that are qualified, that have like a certain number of low and moderate income people. We can use it for things we've never used it for historically, but the town tends to use that money for supporting the Unity Center in Normal, which serves pretty much all low-income families with after-school programming. We support PATH, and then we have a housing rehabilitation program. We do some street resurfacing. We do some sidewalk projects, again, in qualified areas. So it's a really nice, diverse program, and it's kind of a nightmare to do federal grant stuff unless you know how to do it. So Jennifer is that person. She also helps with other grants that we have. Tessa, on the other hand, really kind of does a lot of the same things that I do. And so I'll walk you through those just so you can kind of see generally what it is we cover in planning. And how long do you want me to go for? Did you say 15 minutes at the most?
15, 20 minutes.
Okay, I will certainly not go longer than that, but I may glance at my phone on occasion just to check my time. So yeah, oh wait, I guess I can go to the next slide because I have the arrow. So everything we do in planning should be in keeping with our comprehensive plan. It's a legal requirement in the state of Illinois that all municipalities have a comprehensive plan. It is not a law that it has to be a good plan or that it has to be an updated plan, but it really should be both of those things. So our plan was adopted in 2017, and it is an excellent plan. We, Regional Planning Commission actually did that plan for us. It involved an extensive public outreach. It was a really robust process. We got a lot of great input. At that point in 2017, if you can dial back the clock in your head, things were going pretty slow. Wasn't a lot of development in 2017. So we had a lot of time to talk about what kind of development we might like to see in the future. Back in 2017, Rivian was there, but they were a few hundred people. We were still hoping that was going to work out. So really it was we had a lot of breathing room to do a really good visionary plan. The 3 bullet points that came out of it were we wanted to be complete, connected, and compact. And that last one, meaning we didn't want to sprawl. The town has actually been really strong on that since at least when I started, not because of me, just coincidentally, but we've been pretty conservative in our growth over the years because our elected officials have always felt concern about the ability to provide quality services the further we sprawl out. So they were always a bit conservative in that way. Complete and connected. We want places to have all the things people need, and we want people to be connected, whether that's technology connections or good streets, great trails, a good bus system, all the ways we have to be connected. So the comprehensive plan really sets this beautiful picture so that everything we do should technically, you should be able to point back to that and say, yep, that's part of the comprehensive plan. Pam, the city manager, she actually has us refer back to the comprehensive plan on our staff reports to the council. And that's not uncommon. I think Bloomington probably does the same thing. But really everything that our departments do should be in keeping with that. So in our comprehensive plan, these are just the major subject areas. You can read, I don't wanna just read through them, but this is to show you that whereas comprehensive plans 20, 30 years ago were very much just about land use. Like, we're just gonna show you a map and we're gonna show you this is where we intend to grow. Now our plans are much more thorough and they're much more about the experience of living in a place. Like, what do you want the place that you live in to look like and feel like in 25 years? And that's kind of the trajectory, that's the horizon for these plans is 25 years. Although you shouldn't let them sit around untouched for 25 years, but that's kind of what you're thinking of. The land use component, though, is still very important. So there is a map in this plan, and it does show you this is where Normal thinks that we should grow in the next 20 years and how we should develop. Should it be residential? Should it be industrial? Should it be commercial? And if you look back at previous plans, you'll see how the philosophy has changed over the years. Not in a good or bad way, it's just things change, times change. So our comprehensive plan now could use an update in the land use plan because back then we were not thinking that Rivian would be so successful that they would expand west of Rivian motorway. And now we know that that is potentially going to happen. And they purchased that ground a while ago. So we could use a little refresh on that, but it's still a plan we're very proud of. A lot of what I do is managing our boards and commissions. And so the town has lots of them. I don't manage all of them, but the ones that are related to planning, I'm just going to walk you through. Those would be Historic Preservation Commission. And actually Tessa really runs point on historic preservation. We have, Bloomington certainly has by quantity more historic resources than we do, clearly. And they have things that we just don't have. I mean, there are such substantial and significant historic landmarks in Bloomington that we don't have. But we do have a lot of historic properties we are really pretty jazzed about. So we've got 3 neighborhoods, districts that are designated, and about 13 individual landmarks, mostly residential, although there are a few commercial buildings. Like you can see here, the Normal Theater, yay Normal Theater, that's on the National Register as well. There are a couple of other commercial properties in Uptown Normal that are designated as landmarks. Sprague's Super Service on Pine Street over by the old Soldiers and Sailors Home. That's also on the National Register. So we do have some that rise to that level of significance as well. But it's a lot of fun to manage the districts. We have a grant program that we administer to help people make repairs because your life isn't easier when you own a really old home, but you have a really cool old home. So we also manage the Planning Commission, which is probably more what you traditionally think of. It's straight development, whether it's residential, commercial, institutional. If it's a big development, it's probably going to go through the Planning Commission for a public hearing. And this is where we send notice to people. We let everybody know who lives nearby or owns property nearby, I should say. Hey, there's a hearing coming up. You should feel free to come or just call me, ask me questions. We want people to know what's going on. If they have comments, that's their opportunity. I just put 2 recent ones up here. So we had Raising Cane's the other night going in at the potentially, it's going to the council next Monday, but it would be on the veteran side of Shops at College Hills. The image to the left is a neighborhood. We haven't had a neighborhood that big come through in a while, like a traditional subdivision of just, single family homes, multifamily, all that. But this goes to show though that our council has really taken the idea of compact development and run with it a bit. So we really are looking at more dense development now when it comes in. So, when I started 22 years ago, the idea of building apartments was like, oh, nobody wanted that, and those are bad, and not necessarily elected officials, but that's kind of the feeling out there. I mean, times have changed. Not only do we need housing, we need the kind of housing people want. And not everybody in this world wants or needs a detached single family home anymore. Economics notwithstanding, I mean, that's its own problem, like who can afford it? But we really do need different options for people, and denser housing is part of the picture. So our council's had to make some tough decisions because when this gets built next door to a neighborhood of single family detached homes, those people will be the first to tell you, that's not what I expected. So we do have to really explain why it's a good thing, why it's gonna work out great, why the world needs this. So it's been a really exciting time to see these changes.
Is that Carden, the development?
This one isn't. This is actually the old Kruger farm on the west side of town. So
okay,
it's where the Kruger
Parkside.
vet clinic, yeah, it's by Parkside. So it's been sitting there the whole time I've worked here, 80 acres or 76 acres. So I was kind of shocked when they came in with it. I also manage the Uptown Design Commission. As you would suspect, it only deals with Uptown. And it's basically any exterior changes, including new construction. So that commission gets to see all the coolest new projects in Uptown. So Uptown Station on the right, that's like a pergola structure they built on the side of Pizza Paya. If you haven't been there yet, it is delicious. That center picture is Maggie Miley's before they redid the facade. They did some amazing work. And then, just simple things like signs. Anybody remember Washburn Flowers? Okay, got some hands, that's right. They've been around for like 100 years. Now it's Stave. That's where Stave is now. I also manage the Zoning Board of Appeals. They do a lot of residential like variances. So like if somebody wants to, build onto their garage and it's too close to their side property line, or if they want to build that kind of thing, that all goes through the zoning board. And then we send a notice to the neighbors. And if somebody wants to come comment, they can. They do bigger projects like the commercial development on the right. That needed zoning variances as well for things like the amount of green space they were able to provide on the site. I think they got a variance for maybe some outdoor lighting levels. But again, the public gets a chance to weigh in on this stuff. On the left, it was a sorority. So it was a special use. It was the kind of thing that neighbors right next door to the Old North Normal Historic District, and people had an opportunity to come out and either be really happy about it or really mad about it. And these, I have to say, sororities tend to be managed really well. They're very attractive. And so really the neighborhood was supportive. So it got approved. We also do a lot with bicycle and pedestrian planning, some of which is in cooperation with Regional Planning Commission. We worked with an outside consultant to update our bike master plan, right in the middle of COVID, but it worked. And it's an excellent update. We already had a solid plan to start with. But it was really fun to update that with some of the more modern ideas around bicycle and pedestrian safety. And we have been designated a bicycle-friendly community twice. We just sent our application in August, so we should find out in December if we're going to get recertified, maybe at a higher level. That would be great. We are working with y'all on the Go Safe campaign, which is really exciting. And the bottom picture there is of, look at this, I will hide that. Some adorable children at a bike rodeo. We do events like that because we promote safety as much as we can. And then on the left is a Safe Routes to Schools grant that we cooperated with the engineering department on to get a really cool trail connection to Chittix. So a lot of the kids that go to Chittix, there's something like 1,500 homes east of Chittix, east of Anderson Park, that are in the Chittix district. So all the kids that live over there theoretically could walk or bike to school perfectly safely through a neighborhood. There's a little secret sidewalk that takes you over a bridge right into the back end of Anderson Park, but then basically just dumps you into the grass, which is okay if you have no mobility problems. It's okay if the grass is dry. Oftentimes that's not the case though. So kids don't walk or bike that way for the most part. They go up along College and they're crossing 2 parking lots and walking through a 3rd one. So it would be much better if they didn't do that. So if we can build this trail connection, bada bing, bada boom, like it's going to be an awesome way to get to school. So we're excited about that. And that's, pretty much what I do. I can answer any questions you might have. I think, did I freeze this? I think it's frozen. That's okay, because it's my last slide. So I don't know what to say. Any questions?
I have a
Yeah.
question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever get involved, or have you ever looked at bloom zones?
I've read about them. Love the idea. We've not done anything.
You haven't
official.
done it.
No,
I'm
we've not done
just
anything
curious.
official. No.
It's very interesting.
It is really interesting.
Yeah.
So for has anybody else heard of these? So there's like places in the world where people live, like a disproportionate number of people live to be older and healthier than anywhere else in the world. And there are places like Okinawa, some awesome little part of Italy.
Yeah.
One town in California, like Linda Loma or Loma Linda or something like that. And you try to figure out, like, what's the secret sauce? Why are these people living so long and living well? They're not just getting old, like,
And their medical costs are lower.
And it's like the commonalities are, well, the big one is they're from a strong community, whether it's a strong religious community or a community that just has a history of being a strong, like people who play cards together,
Supportive
people
community.
who walk around, take a walk after dinner every single darn night and they see their neighbors, like kind of simple, but like who does that? Like very few people. Some of them it's the one glass of red wine every day, but not all of them. Some of them do not drink alcohol. So you can't go to the red wine automatically as much as you might want to. It's really, I think, it's community.
They've done Minnesota, they did a test
Yep.
pilot in Minnesota, and they're doing other communities in the
Yeah,
United States.
exactly.
They're getting funding support for
Mhm.
that.
Yeah,
And it's
it's
really,
very cool.
it's very interesting.
Yeah, it's community and some sort of physical activity, but it doesn't have to be like, I'm a runner. It's like
Well-
I take a stroll after dinner.
And the design of it's the design of the spaces that people
Yeah.
live in that,
You gotta wanna take a walk.
you
You
know,
can't do it if you listen
yeah,
to
that
without
make it
sidewalks.
easy to get to places. And then Singapore is like the epitome of this.
Uh-huh,
So like Singapore has very few cars.
yeah.
But the people are disproportionately healthier, their medical costs are lower,
Mm-hmm,
their food sources, foods are better,
mm-hmm.
so it's really an interesting.
It is very interesting.
Are these parts of the overall community, or are there specific parts of the community? So like in Loma Linda, is it kind of a neighborhood that gets developed that way?
I haven't read it in depth enough, but I remember Loma Linda, there was a religious aspect to that one. Like they're all, not all, not everyone in the
Yep,
whole town,
not
but
all.
like a big enough group that it makes
Yeah.
a difference. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, I could see subdivisions or certain areas of the town potentially being designated communities that potentially help promote.
Yeah. In some ways, that actually gets to recent talks around looking at health by zip code. And that is a deep dive into why are there certain zip codes where people's life expectancy is so low. And it's linked with poverty, safety, like all sorts of things. So yeah, you could probably find healthy little pockets of any place. And you'd probably find that those are people with money and a higher, you know what I mean? Like
Not necessarily.
resources.
Yeah.
No, but I bet. I mean, when you look at the data now, the zip code analysis, there's some, yeah.
But in some of those blue zone studies, because people are not, they
Just like
don't
regular
have any
people.
money.
They're just regular people.
They don't have any
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Definitely in the other
Yeah.
countries, yeah.
Understand? Curious. On the very first slide, one of the words was compact.
Yeah,
I'm curious now as the city, or whether or not it's the city itself, or at least developers are looking to expand to meet the needs of some of the businesses in town. What are some of the things the city considers in terms of remaining compact, but acknowledging growth and moving forward with certain aspects of growth, particularly in areas where maybe the city can't control. So I'm on the Unified School Board. One of those pieces are, we need a place to put these individuals safely and provide a service for them. So walk me through some of those considerations that, one, the city has control over, helping keep it works, et cetera, and then things that the city may not have control over but are still needed for the benefit of those residents.
okay, so I'll start answering this, and if it's not what you're looking for, just tell me to stop. But for example, there are parts of the normal area where they're not annexed yet. There's no development, just a cornfield. That, like Cardin Springs was a recent example. It's right next to Wintergreen. It's directly south of I-55, so it's south of Ironwood. It is surrounded by annexed normal. So when they came to us and said, we'd like to develop this and annex it, we were like, it is absolutely, it's next to existing infrastructure. The roads are there. They might need a little improvement. Stormwater, sanitary, all that's there. So those are the analyses we look at. It's like, yeah, that's a tier 1. That should develop before almost anything else.
So that
So
doesn't go against that is compact.
it's part,
though.
right, it's still compact
Okay.
because at least, and within that, it's a pretty dense, for us, multifamily development. Now, does it impact Unified? Absolutely. Like, does it impact other people in other ways? Yes,
So how about sprawling opportunities? There's still a lot of land out there.
there's a ton of land.
Yeah,
And
how do you
actually,
balance that, or how would you?
there's land that you would look at and think, well, why isn't that developing? It's right next to the community. And it's like, yeah, but oddly enough, there's no sewer available there, even though it looks like it should be, but it's not for some reason. People just don't know. We've been in pretty much of a mode of, we're not extending water and sewer outside of the community most of the time. Like, and usually a developer is on the hook to do that anyway. They build, it's part of their expense, but then we're on the hook as the community to maintain it forever. So it's not like we never have public water and sewer extended, but it has to kind of be in an infill area where it makes sense. So that's generally what we're looking at.
And the water district's capacity comes into it too.
Yeah, so like, of course, we own our own water system in Normal, and like there are usually issues of like, if there's gonna be an issue, it's like pressure, because we have certain areas of town where the water pressure is
Yeah, I'm
good.
sorry, I was thinking more
Oh,
of
the
the sewer
sanitary
side.
district,
Yeah.
that kind of water,
Yeah.
yeah, that's expensive. Sewer is what drives most development, so if there's not sewer there, there's a good chance there's a reason why it's not there, and it would be very expensive, so.
And Trail South or Uptown South, what's the plan for that at this point?
Well, I mean, we did the Uptown South Master Plan with Doug Farr, gosh, maybe almost a year ago now, maybe not that much, but there's no plan to just implement it right away. We certainly want to get the underpass going and kind of let that, and that's gonna take a minute. So, but at least we have the plan ready in case there's any interest in the meantime, like we can certainly talk about it, but we're not like aggressively going, because there are things we would need to do. There's still more engineering work, there's more detailed planning. That's a very good concept, but it's not like actually ready to just put like a real estate sign out, so, yeah.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Any other questions?
Any other questions? I don't know, are there staff questions, or is that just like, just you guys? I don't know. Yeah, you guys, okay, all right.
They might hit you after the meeting.
I was gonna say, like, keep it back there, we can talk later. All right, is that all you need?
Thank you very much.
I'll just
And you're welcome to
sit
stay
here
with
for a
us.
moment, okay. Although, does Mark need to come up here and sit here? To talk?
This chair next to you. so it's-
I'll just stand right next to Ray.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for regional housing initiative updates, we'll start off with the state grant funded Regional Housing Recovery Plan, formerly known as RISE. We're referring it to moving forward as the Regional Housing Recovery Plan. MCRPC staff and TPMA consultants have finalized the project work plan. As part of the public engagement efforts, MCRPC staff launched the Housing Needs Survey, which I do have flyers if anybody would like one. I'm more than happy to give it to you after the meeting. And the Housing Needs Survey has been launched in 3 languages, English, Spanish, and French. Is available online, over the phone, and also we have paper copies that anyone from the community can come into our office here at the Government Center to complete it. A closing date of November 27th. And to date, we have received approximately about 950 survey responses. So we're still doing more push and trying to get some more in the next couple weeks. The steering committee was formed and the kickoff meeting took place on October 25th. Per grant requirements, this project will be completed by the end of March of 2024. In terms of other work on the housing data and research side, MCRPC staff are currently working on updating the white paper area median income in McLean County and will present the first draft to the Housing Staff Committee later this month. MCRPC staff attended the Housing Action Illinois Conference in October last month as well. Local updates, MCRPC staff co-hosted a listening tour for Mercy Housing Lakefront, a nonprofit housing developer and service provider based from Chicago with Mid-Central Community Action on October 20th, which included a presentation of the Bloomington Normal Community, site visits at Mayor's Manor and Urban Apartments, and a discussion of their potential interest in the Bloomington Normal affordable housing market. MCRPC staff facilitated the monthly regional housing initiatives monthly housing staff meeting on October 26th.
Thanks, Mark. Any questions or comments?
One quick question, housing survey, are we able to track and identify where those responses come from?
By zip code. We had several questions that were originally on, where are you from, McLean County, Normal, Bloomington Normal, and we were just trying to cut it down. And we we're filtering based on zip code. So you'll see the first question is what zip code you live in. And we thought that doing some analysis that Bloomington has several, but Normal has its own, Towanda has its own, like most rural municipalities, if they're sizable, have their own zip code. So that's how we're tracking the location. So
We wouldn't be able to track if it comes from a university or a medical facility or a insurance company. We measure the business. association with that person's response?
Not necessarily, not that I can recall, but we are, I think the approach has been more so on what the housing needs are, based on the income and based on family and whatnot, the composition. So the actual industry sector hasn't been as a priority, kind of based on the survey we created, so. yeah.
If I may too, just we'll be doing kind of reversely, although the survey doesn't have those specific which organization you're associated with, but there will be opportunities, stakeholder interviews. There will be session with the stakeholder and the consultants, call it like a design sprint, that will ask the school districts representatives, will ask like ISU and IWU, Heartland, so and others, like major employers, nonprofits. So from that way, we'll collect input from them. So not from the survey that way, but reverse, that will get like feedback from those sectors.
So I think one of the committee members is a Realtor Association.
Correct.
Diane.
Yes.
And that's sent out to 500 people.
Wow.
And I'm just curious what the response rate's going to be from that 500 people.
Yeah.
We're trying to get it, rural and urban, we're trying to get as much as we can. So obviously, your sharing of your different networks is greatly appreciated. I'm gonna leave some flyers here as well. If you'd like any paper copies, please feel free to take them.
Thank you, Mark. I guess you're next, right?
The next item, 6C, this is in terms of transportation safety. We, as you recall, at the last meeting, I mentioned that the pedestrian and cyclist grant ended at the end of September. But as a result of that, we've got like short videos, so we're starting to push those on the social media, there's different sources, so FYI. And then we, another state IDOT funded grants related to safety, and that's the SPR, the State Planning and Research Grant. And so we're working on the RFP, request for proposal, so that we get consultants, and that is a little bit more. We have like a little over 2 years to work on that, and so that's more like a marketing type campaign for public awareness, public education on traffic safety. And other things we also got 2 federal grants, exciting, on the SS4A, which stands for Safe Streets and Roads for All, again related to safety. So earlier this week, we just finally got the fully executed agreement, the grant agreement from Washington DC. So that's exciting because a lot of processing takes time. And so we also working on the RFP, for the consultant. The 4th grant is the race grant. This is for the replanning. I call it replanning for the Veterans Parkway. And so we also working on drafting RFP. But then the agreement is not quite done yet. We're still working with IDOT because some technical issues with the way it's set up, but we expect that to be done very soon on that, because it's a federal grant, but then IDOT is technically a recipient, and then they will handle all the money, but then MCRPC will handle all the work working with the consultant, overseeing the consultant. So it's a little bit different approach that IDOT is not quite used to, so we try to work with them and see what would be a good process to get all this done. That's all I have. Questions?
Any questions for Ray? Is there anything else that anyone wishes to bring up to the meeting under the heading of that which may arise? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second? Second. Any discussion about that? All in favor?
Aye.
Against? We are adjourned. Thank you folks
Thank you.
for your time and travel to be here.